Yes, I
Sure,
can
sure,
see you.
sure,
Okay,
sure.
I have full
Yeah,
screen.
yeah.
No worries.
Okay, so Justina, go on right ahead. Thank you.
Then, yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Justina. I'm very happy to be here. Actually, second time. And yeah, then I'm from Deepwork Studio. And basically, we are a collective of designers, creators, and workshop facilitators who helping Web3 companies, different type of startups, like usually early stage startups, to bring their ideas, their usually technical stack to actually something that face user. Like basically like creating interfaces, creating the good user experiences and so. And I'm working mostly as a user researcher and creative director, but also like interacting a lot with the clients themselves and facilitating workshops, like design sprints and helping them to clarify what kind of things actually they want to build and what kind of problem they're solving. And today I'm here to talk a little bit about the product design and more, not like something super technical and something super specific or like particular things that you need to do for a project or so, but more about the mental models and just kind of like a frameworks how to think before you even start to design things. And also in the moment when you already have something and you're thinking like how to optimize it or how to improve your user experience. Then today we'll be covering a few things. Then one is just like fundamentals of a good design, like basically like the main things. Then how to make your user experience delightful. Then basically like a little tweaks, little things that are very important, especially taking into account that in Web3 space, like a lot of applications that have quite complicated flows and the things that users are just like not familiar with, and how to improve this and how to solve these problems. And also I will talk about some tooling. Then basically the things that you can use, they are free tools, but they can help you by designing things and just like thinking about like your products and so. Then that's basically like a little agenda of today, and later I will keep the space for a Q&A, and basically any questions you have and so, then just keep them there, and yeah, I will be very happy to answer. Okay, then we can start. The first thing, as I was already mentioning, that before even starting to design products, the most important part is not actually like how it will look or how I know something like not something like really big, but more like actually what kind of problem you're solving. And what it actually means, just basically finding out what kind of problems you see around you and how these things can be targeted and how you can actually improve certain aspect either of your life, either of like people around you, like basically based on your own observations and things what you see. And you could ask like how actually to find out what kind of problem you're solving, which is totally like common question. And to do that, at least we in the agency, what we use is called design sprints. Then basically it's like a short version of like few days workshops where we come together with the team. And then we, as we working with the clients, and then with the
But is she talking?
sorry.
Sorry, Justin, go on right ahead.
People, can you hear me or not really?
I can hear you.
You're back now. You're back now.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where you lost me actually. I'm trying to figure out.
Someone has their mic open.
There is a lot of background sound from somebody.
Can you still hear it now? Because I muted. Someone just hopped in and their mic was open, but I muted them. Can you still hear the
Okay.
background noise?
No, background noise is fine, but can you hear me clearly now?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, amazing. Then where I stopped, then basically we're talking a little bit about like ways how you can clarify your basically the main problem what you're solving and so, and how to design things. then basically like the first thing what you do is just basically gather your team and trying to find like the main problematics, like main things what you see around you, and then you prioritize them. Then we're using Miro boards, which is a digital whiteboard. Maybe some of you are familiar already with them. Then it's very simple too. It's basically you put like a post-it notes, like it's not super clear here, but I hope you can see. Then yeah, basically you just put this post-it notes with like a little text with like these problems, and you prioritize them as a team. Then you have a little round of voting and so. And then when you have certain things like clear, you can focus on them. And then as a next step, what you do is just actually creating a user journey. And basically what it means is just like step-by-step process to see from the beginning when user just joins your application or basically finds out that there is some sort of app or like whatever service you provide or thinking to create. So the moment when they accomplish their goal, then basically all the touch points that all the things that they need to do in order to just like get what they want to get or do the certain thing or just like accomplish the goal basically. Then the main reason why it's worth it to map out these things, that you can see what kind of like, if we're talking about like a specifically digital about the interface, then you can see what kind of screens you actually need to create, because each of this interaction need to be somehow visualized. Then you already have this like your own, let's say, side map for that. And you also can just like put this, like how to solve this main problem just by using this user journey. And the last thing what you can do, and it's actually very valuable, is to create wireframes. Then who is not familiar with this term, then it's basically a blueprint of the website. And it doesn't need to be pretty, like you don't need to invest too much in UI, but you can just actually map out mostly features and mostly like just like main parts as buttons, as like a placement of different text, of copy and so. And you can do these things relatively quickly. And you can just basically put all of these things. And the beauty of having wireframes, that you can straight away go and test it. You can just gather some people around you, let's say like few friends around, or just like people from the community or so. Especially here, like it's relevant to your hackathon tasks, and so if you want to create a product, you can just like wireframe it very quickly and just like show people in the community. And you can gather primary feedback, then basically main ideas of like how they perceive your thoughts and your kind of understanding of like what kind of product you want to build. And in this way you can save a lot of time, just like instead of creating like and investing like your effort there, you can just like kind of validate your idea straight away here. Then that's basically would be like a 3 parts framework, but of course there is like a different type of exercises and so what you can also include. Then later after this presentation, I will share with you a board of actually full design sprint that you can check it out. And also like when you're building something, you can use like some of the exercises or all of them, or just kind of aligning your team and also deciding what to build. And now from here, I would like to move a little bit to the next step, like what's happened when you already have a product, when you build something, and then like how to actually figure out how people interact with it. And in this way, I would like to think a little bit from the perspective of like how animals interact. And one of the examples is ants, as you can see on the screen. Then basically ants have this like type of behavior that when they encounter something, let's say pieces of food or something interesting, they started to create these trails. Then basically the ants, they just like moving towards that like back and forth. And interestingly enough, it's similar behavior what we can see in the users actually when they encounter applications and when they just go there. And basically that's how the user flow could look like too, when like first bubbles is just like users where they stood in the beginning, and then we have your product and basically how they move there and how they navigate towards that. And in this situation, what we can do with the design and what kind of value like product design actually can provide is to create barriers and separate users who are actually a target audience, like ones that are actually important and ones that you want to serve, from the other ones who have actually unsuitable intentions or somebody who just have like different understanding and just like kind of different goals when they come to your application. And I think in this moment, maybe it feels a little bit theoretical and so on, it's kind of hard to put it in like real picture. But as an example, like if you're building a, let's say like it, like Web3 wallet, and your goal, your target audience is like, let's say, people who just like entering the space, and you would like them to keep certain currencies there for like longer amount of time, and that's your like main perfect user, let's call it. And then you notice by just capturing data that you got some users who are actually like very active DeFi traders, or somebody who just like basically like more from the degen type of users, and they have completely different needs. And you can capture this by either data points, either just like looking at either your community, like even a Discord and so, and like if you have a channel of like some suggestions, you can start noticing that certain groups of people starting to offer you like different type of features, like maybe more trading orientated and so. But by seeing this, you can actually make decision what kind of user you want to target, and if you want to stick with ones that's like focusing more into saving money and just like staying there like for a longer period of time versus trading. By design, you can create these blockages and these like barriers that you can actually focusing in the right target audience versus trying to cover everybody and just trying to be good for everybody, which usually doesn't happen. Then that's basically like a little bit of a framework to think about it. And other thing also important about the product itself, that it's very depends like where you are in the space and what kind of interactions you have with your environment. Because by building a product, you don't build things in a vacuum. You usually just interacting with other applications around, and you see like how the interaction just works, what kind of features, like even your competitors, what kind of features they're implementing, and how you can create something which is innovative, something was like actually needed for a space, but in the same time complements other things that are already created. And in this way, you can actually navigate like where your growth is supposed to go, where actually things like is where it's important to take certain considerations and what kind of features to implement, and so that is just like it's kind of easier in the way to think in this perspective versus just like trying to think about the new features or so just on your own. And yeah, we just like a similar thing too, that like it's competition itself, it shouldn't be a race, because as I believe we still have this framework from Web 2 world that if you create some certain product and then you just like see what kind of competitors you have and you're trying to be like better in certain way or just like overraise them or so. But instead of thinking in this perspective, it's really just like it's something about singularity, and it's something about just creating a union with others and just like growing towards better decentralized future together, and just creating this really good user experiences and just like things that actually matter, and just like helping each other and being supportive and learning. Then yeah, and from here I would like to move a little bit to like how to make your experience delightful. That is not that much about the product itself and kind of like strategy things, what I was talking before, but it's more about like the user experience itself. And the first thing, you really need to avoid creating these situations, especially by building applications which are related with like fund sending and so on, different kind of DeFi applications, or basically everything that involves token or any kind of financial funds. And what it means, like even like what we see in this meme, then basically people who just like enter the app and then they press the button and poof, and their money disappears. And this really the thing what you don't want to do, and the things what you need to really take into consideration, because a lot of us like who are working in the field or like spending time in the field for a longer amount of time, they kind of a little bit more, how to even say, like more like keeping ourselves more protective, because like we know like flow like what can happen, that like there is a lot of scams around, that there is like different ways how we can lose our funds, and we working like a little bit like we protecting ourselves. But there's many people who just entering the space for the first time, and our job as product creators, as builders, to protect them and provide them experience that they wouldn't even feel that is like scary or something that is like really they're risking a lot. It's like it's really like giving them awareness that things are just similar like Web 2, but just like they have different type of qualities and things with it, basically more advantages than disadvantages. And for this, you can accomplish this by kind of having two main parts. Of course, there's like way more complexity, but if you can just like keeping it simple, then one main thing is education. And education could be provided in two ways. Then one is blockchain basics. Then really, regardless of what you're building, it's still important to add some sort of blockchain education. And don't presume that people who enter your app, they know what is blockchain and how it works and how the transaction works and so. Even having some sort of like a little block of information is really helpful, or just like linking to some sort of like little, I don't know, like articles or so, or just like you don't need to invent the wheel and create your own materials, but I believe that there is enough information that you can use and utilize just to give this entry point for users to just read a little bit and just get familiar if they are not. And the other part is platform-specific knowledge, then basically on everything about your application, which involves terminology, which involves like certain type of user actions, let's say like if there is a swap or some sort of like a staking, or basically everything Web3 related. It's like, it's not even a question, they need to be mentioned, like how this thing work. And you can accomplish that by using tooltips, and basically like a little button with a question mark next to a certain term or certain interaction, and just like prompt user and just like explain what it means. Like also, even if you have a terminology of NFT and so, please don't presume that everybody knows what is NFT, because the reality is different, and really a lot of people just like learning about these things for the first time. And for you, just putting like this little thing, this really helps. And yeah, you just like help them to interact and just use your application in a way more quality manner. And yeah, just I have one example actually from DHedge, and we were building this like app like a little bit while ago, but one like interesting thing what I wanted to show is just like how actually make the experience a little bit more delightful is to use like actual real people faces, especially if there is some sort of interaction with the some sort of like here, for example, it was like hedge fund managers. Then basically there was people who helping to invest in certain hedge funds, and yeah, they were just using like a name and the face of the real person who already give the sense, a little bit of sense of the security for people, that is not that they're directly interacting with the machine, but there is somebody behind it, and there's like this a little bit of a human connection. And it's a little thing, but just brings value. And also, the other thing is just try to create the full experience for the user. And if you promise something, like usually promises happening in the landing pages, when you promise them, I know, like fastest transactions or some sort of like, I know, high yield or like a things, which is like reasonable, or something like, I know, just like safety and security and care, then please just like try to execute on this and just lead them through this journey. And you can do this like as in this example, basically the protocol, they were just like promising high yields, which like something was like in that moment was possible to do, even it looked a little bit crazy, and there was like very high APIs and so, but then they actually managed to just basically show this first information that like, oh, you will get this like high yields, but then users still can think like, oh, I don't know actually like how does it work. Then the next step was actually showing that, look, that's your dashboard, like the second part, that's your dashboard, that's the funds what you invested in, and that's the possibility how much these funds like actually can like increase, and how actually like everything works. Then basically showing all information for the user and making everything clear. And the third part is actually delivering on your promise and showing that like that's the money what you generated, that's the amount of tokens what you earn, and now you can do whatever you want with it. That's like something that's like it's your freedom, but in the same time it's just like you have this openness and like showing all process throughout. And this one can be applicable for any type of application. You just like try to complete this journey and try to like really provide like a quality experience for the user from the beginning till the end. And yeah, and other things also like important to mention, that sometimes it's not about making applications faster and user just like going through the flow very quick. What is like is pretty common understanding that like, oh, we need to make the interaction with something super seamless, that's why we'll make it quick. But sometimes you need to use this an opposite way of thinking, that sometimes you need to use like slowing down methods for the user in order to save their funds, or just like really making sure that they read certain information. Then I have an example here from ETH2 staking platform, like actually the older version of it. Then as in this platform, like in order to stake ETH, like you need to have 32 ETH, which is like quite significant amount. And in order to make sure that user don't lose these funds along the way and something bad doesn't happen, you just basically adding this extra thing, so like even like certain information, and then you just like make sure that they will click this information, or that they can't click further as long as they make sure that like they actually read something, or they clicked on the button like, okay, I read this, I'm aware of this information. And so then basically by using this like a little tricks of like stopping or like slowing down the user, you can accomplish this goal of keeping them safe and aware of what they're doing and where they are in the flow. And yeah, then basically that's like a main things what I wanted to cover today. And just like one thing for the inspiration in general, that like really don't try to invent the wheel every time and just like create something super novel, and like especially from the visual design standpoint, because there's a lot of things already what we have, and what to just try to steal ideas from things, like everything what you see, and it's not even like a web itself, but just like what you see in the nature, with the things what you actually like feel, that you just create some sort of feeling inside of you. Just try to capture everything around you, and then use, just like bring all of this inspiration and just use in building your products and like building the experiences for other people, and you'll really feel that like it's way more fulfilling and it's way more interesting to work with the material that is something that just make you feel good, and in the same time you can make other people feel good. And the last thing, I just wanted to just like give a little bit of like resources, like be in our website and Deepwork Studio. Like here you have a QR link, but basically we have a knowledge base where there is all information how to facilitate design sprints, basically step-by-step guides how you can do it yourself. Also, you can see like how to run user research, that basically what kind of questions you can ask, like how to write a script for the user research. And also you can explore like different case studies, see how the designs are built, because we really prone open source design. Then it's like similar when the open source code, then we really want to make design open source, because it's also something that we want to let people just to use this and build like new ideas and test them out without putting too much resources in that, because not everybody can just like, I don't know, like hire the design agency or so. Then like you can do it yourself just by using different blocks and just testing out things. Then yeah, that's it from me, I believe. And now I would like to give some space for questions or some comments or so.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, when you say that we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel, can you give us an example of maybe some concept that you maybe not copy one-to-one, but took inspiration for a project?
Yeah, of course. Like one of the things was like, it's not like super specific example, but just like if you're building a wallet, let's say, then one thing what I really need to understand is just like a mental model, like how currently people interact with the like our current wallets, and just like if you manage like find things which have some sort of like basically problematics that you would like to solve, then what you can do, just basically take the main flow of the interaction with the wallet and just like redo not all of it, but just redo like certain parts when you see that there is a friction points. And it's like something that like actually needs redesigning. But the rest of the things, let's say like you have a main screen, so like how user is onboarded, and if everything is fine there, like I know, just create a new wallet or like press like existent, and so like all of these things you can actually reuse, and just of course like change on like user branding and user like visual identity and so, but like the interaction part of it you can really reuse, and just like don't create something completely new, because every time when you're creating something completely new you need to give time to user adjust and actually create a new mental model of interaction with it, which is like is very not necessary, and it takes a lot of mental effort from the user.
So take inspiration and improve.
Yeah, basically.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, probably not. It's fine. And yeah, then during the hackathon, I believe that I will be in this like design channel. Then if any of you like building things and so on have questions, then I will be there. And yeah, and you can just like send a message or so, and I will respond, or we can just hop on this audio call and discuss certain things.
Yes, thank you, Justina, so much. Especially what you do with UX research, because I'm also in the Deepwork Discord. Thank you.
Thank you for it. Yeah, thank you very much, and good luck, everybody.
Yes. Okay, so we'll have to end recording. We have the next speaker here. Thank you, Justina.